Hey everybody, when Walt Disney made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937, do you reckon he envisioned that in roughly 70 years, his studio would make a film about a small chicken yelling that the sky is falling and it would have aliens thrown in during the second half for no reason? Well, thank his lucky stars the revival era followed up from that blunder. The experimental era sure existed, and it was a given with how good the Renaissance was a decade prior, as well as animation studios like Pixar and DreamWorks now leading the industry to 3D. And it was safe to say that Walt Disney Animation Studios struggled to keep up with the changing industry during the 2000s. Though much like all the studio's rough eras, they would be followed up by a great string of films, with the most recent of these being the revival era. So today, we're going to be looking at these films and see if they were what the studio needed after the experimental era. And who knows, they made bolts, so anything's possible. Starting off with The Princess and the Frog. It's damn tradition at this point. It begins with a girl named Tiana alongside her spoiled friend Charlotte, who's obsessed with princesses and fairy tales. We then see Tiana's hardworking family, with her aspiring to open up a restaurant serving her gumbo. Tiana makes a wish upon a star to make her restaurant dream come true. It's now the roaring 20s, and we see the hardworking Tiana grown up, and despite her father passing away, she still has bright aspirations of opening up a restaurant, and finds just the right place with all the money she saved up over the years. We get a stylish sequence further showcasing how excited she is. Meanwhile, we see Prince Naveen arrive at New Orleans, cut off from his family as he plays around town with his butler tousled around as they bump into a mysterious figure named Dr. Facilier, voiced by Keith David. And it weirdly enough would be the last time he voiced the villain in frog-related Disney media. He introduces them to him and his friends on the other side, and makes a deal with the two to make Naveen green as the butler's luck turns around, with the two shaking on it. I could think of worse guys to make sketchy deals with. At the restaurant Tiana works at, Charlotte tells her the news of Prince Naveen coming to a masquerade ball arranged by her father, asking her to cater with enough money to get the building. At the ball, Tiana is notified that someone outbid her for the building, leaving her startled, while Charlotte dances with Naveen. Tiana then stumbles across a frog who is actually the real prince, whilst along with Charlotte is the butler as part of Facilier's deal. He suggests that Tiana should kiss him and offers to open her restaurant in return. She does so, but turns into a frog. They then cause some chaos at the ball, only to fly away, ending up in a bayou and after facing some alligators! They start getting to know each other, with Tiana's life of hard work and Naveen's laid-back lifestyle contrasting with each other, making croaky first impressions. I'm here all week. In the morning, they come across a jazz-obsessed alligator named Lewis, who helps take them to someone who can make them human again, named Mama Odie, as they all sing about their goals and desires. Why are there so many songs about rainbows?
Well, beats me. I was actually pondering that same question myself.
Wow, thanks a lot, Mr. Helpful. Now go log, frog!
Ah!
We cut back to the butler disguised as Naveen as he proposes to Charlotte just as the potion runs out, making him transform, leading Facilier to call up his friends on the other side to catch the real Naveen in exchange for all of New Orleans. The frogs then bump into a firefly named Ray, who helps take them across the bayou to Mama Odie. After the frogs briefly get caught by a trio in the bayou, Tiana teaches Naveen how to cook, and soon dance together as Ray sings about the love of his life, a star he calls Evangeline. The friends on the other side try to take in Naveen, but Mama Odie comes in to stop them. The frogs inquire her about being human again, and she sings that they should look deeper into their true desires, with Naveen now falling for Tiana. Mama Odie tells Naveen to marry Charlotte during a Mardi Gras parade, with everyone now reaching a ferry. Lewis plays with a costume band, and at night, Naveen tries to propose to Tiana but fumbles. She shows him the restaurant she wants to open, with Naveen promising to get her the money. Naveen gets caught by Facilier's friends as everyone reaches New Orleans, with the butler preparing to wed Charlotte in disguise. Ray tells Tiana that Naveen has a thing for her, but is heartbroken to see him with Charlotte getting married, though the real frog is trapped in a box. Ray tells Tiana not to lose hope as he helps Naveen escape, leading to mishap. Ray fights off the friends holding the charm, only to be trodden by Facilier. He tempts Tiana with a restaurant, who learned that she wouldn't be happy without Naveen, leading her to break the charm, with Facilier now facing his comeuppance by his friends on the other side, being taken to the Disney Vault. The butler is arrested as Charlotte tries to kiss Frog Naveen to be human again whilst letting him be with Tiana, but it doesn't work, with the two deciding to stay as frogs. Lois then alerts everyone that Ray is dying as they all gather for his final moments. On the bright side, he probably lived a longer life than Concord. The Bayou then mourns Ray, but we see him in the stars right next to the love of his life, Neon Genesis Evangeline. The frogs then get married and finally become human again. The two get married for the whole world to see as Tiana finally opens up her restaurant as she and Naveen live happily ever after. A very enjoyable film. New Orleans and the Bayou proved a great change of scenery for these films and is vividly brought to life. The animation and songs are as great as ever, Tiana is one of Disney's best and most interesting princesses with her goals and arc, and Dr. Facilier is one of their coolest villains, as the rest of the characters were a joy to watch in this otherwise cliche story. And while I anticipated hating the daylights out of Charlotte, I surprisingly liked her by the end with her selfless character arc being a good friend to Tiana. She's like, if Ariel didn't suck! But I do think there could have been more stakes with the restaurant and Dr. Facilier, but still, there's fun to be had with The Princess and the Frog, and it served as one hell of a swan song for the studio's 2D department. We'll get to you. Up next is Tangled. Still keeping the Cootie armor on. Which marks the studio's 50th film, and fun fact, was the first film of theirs I saw in cinemas when it released. Yeah, the experimental era was rough. It begins with the backstory of a drop of sunlight making a magical flower on the ground. An old woman uses it to stay young, and hundreds of years later, a pregnant queen falls ill and servants find the flower using it to cure her. She gives birth to a girl with golden hair with the power of the flower. One night, the old woman named Mother Gothel comes in to steal her to keep herself young. All of this could have been prevented, they just fixed that damn door. She hides the girl named Rapunzel in a tower to raise as her own, whilst the kingdom looks for the missing princess and sends out lanterns hoping for her return. Many years pass with Rapunzel having aspirations of seeing the lanterns, and her 18th birthday is around the corner, whilst we also see her marketable pet iguana, Pascal. She asks Mother Gothel to go, with her singing about the dangers of the world. I mean, we do live in a society. Meanwhile, we see a thief named Flynn alongside the Stabbington brothers who steals a crown, with them being chased by guards, with Flynn betraying the Stabbingtons going on his own with the crown. A guard horse named Maximus chases him as Flynn stumbles across the tower hiding from the guards. He climbs up and gets hit unconscious by Rapunzel. She hides him as Gothel pops by, further telling her to stay in here. But Rapunzel sends her out for errands lasting her 3 days. Rapunzel interrogates Flynn and offers him to take her to the lanterns in exchange for his crown. With that, she finally leaves the tower and feels conflicted, to put it lightly, with Gothel soon finding out and discovering Flynn's satchel. Rapunzel and Flynn head to a bar with thugs and ruffians, who then sing a fun ragtime tune about their dreams. Why, I dream of getting a PS5! You guys are real jerks, you know that? Some guards pop by with the thugs, letting Flynn and Rapunzel escape in secret, with the guards and Maximus soon following. They reach a dam and after some chasing, the two get trapped in a cave. Just as they're about to drown, Flynn reveals that his name is actually Eugene, and Rapunzel glows her hair, finding a way out. At night, the two get more acquainted with each other as Gothel pops by warning Rapunzel about Eugene and gives her his satchel to see if he runs off with it or not, while she strikes a deal with the Stabbingtons. In the morning, Maximus then tries to take in Eugene, but Rapunzel makes the two stay on good terms with each other as they finally reach the kingdom. They have a blast with the two getting closer and Rapunzel being intrigued by a painting of a king, queen, and their baby daughter. At night, Eugene and Rapunzel on a boat see the lanterns up close and at last they see the light. Thank God they're not vampires. When at land, Eugene tries apologizing to the Stabbingtons only to be tangled up on a boat towards prison. With Gothel tricking Rapunzel into thinking that he left her as the two head back to the tower. There, Rapunzel soon realizes that she was the missing princess and that her life was a lie because of Gothel. Meanwhile, Eugene in prison is about to be hung, yet the bar thugs from earlier come in to save him from the guards, all thanks to Maximus, where he and Eugene then head to the tower.
The tower! The tower! Rapunzel! Rapunzel!
Eugene climbs up, only to see Gothel plan to hide Rapunzel never to be seen again. He tries to stop her, but gets stabbed by Gothel. Rapunzel comes to him, only for him to give her a long overdue haircut. With that, the hair's power is gone, as Gothel now becomes a visual representation of how I feel when realizing that this film came out 14 years ago, leading her to fall out the tower. As Eugene passes on, the two confess their love for each other, and Rapunzel draws a tear with the flower's power bringing him back to life, as the film literally becomes Tears of the Kingdom. With that, Rapunzel finally reunites with her true parents as the kingdom celebrates her return. Whilst we see the bar thugs fulfill their dreams, the king and queen and Rapunzel and Eugene live happily ever after. We really are in the revival era, aren't we? The film took a really fresh and creative spin on the fairy tale, the characters were all a delight, Gothel made for a good villain, the songs are fantastic, and I reckon it was here where Walt Disney Animation Studios really started to get the gist of CGI after the 2000s. I can't imagine how hard Rapunzel's hair was to animate. Their 3D films no longer look like total ass! I do think the animation could have been more expressive, and I am aware there is a short of them getting married as well as a TV series, but do I look like I've seen them? Anyhow, another good one in our hands.
And the best part? I'm finally done with all the Cootie movies!
Granted, these films are quality and all, at least for the most part, but I want to see cool explosions, damn it! Now what film do we have next that further showcases my inner Schwarzenegger?
Son of a gun!
Winnie the Pooh, a spiritual successor to many adventures, and the last 2D animated film from the studio. It starts off with the pan of a real-life bedroom, and we get acquainted with all the characters in 100 Acre Wood and the classic theme song. Winnie wakes up, and the narrator reminds him that there's something important he needs to do. After trying to find honey, he bumps into Owl and Eeyore, who lost his tail. Everyone in 100 Acre Wood now looks for a substitute tail with a pot of honey as the reward. Everyone makes an attempt, including a clock and balloon, but they all backfire. As Pooh heads to Christopher Robin's house, he comes across a message saying that he'll be back soon. When notifying everyone, they all assume Christopher Robin got caught by a monster named a Baxen, whilst we get a visually creative chalkboard sequence. Rabbit leads the plan to lure and capture the Baxen, whilst Tigger trains Eeyore to fight, who stumbles across an anchor underwater. Pooh and Piglet set up a hole trap for the Baxen with a honey pot. Pooh's honey craving then gets the better of him, as he now sees everything as honey pots, leading to another visually appealing musical number. Pooh then falls for the honey trap he set up, now stuck in a hole, with his friends soon following thanks to Eeyore's anchor tail. Piglet comes up to try and help everyone get out, with everyone stumbled for ideas.
Owl can fly, you dumbasses!
With that, everyone sends Piglet out to find Christopher Robin, with Owl flying to get Piglet out.
I don't know whether to laugh or shudder in pain.
Piglet ventures into the forest to find a balloon, and Tigger dressed up as the Baxen, leading them to fall into the pit, whilst bumping into the letters of the book along the way. Pooh then uses the letters to climb out of the pit with the rest following. Christopher Robin comes back from school and cleared things out with the Baxen, and that it was saying that he would be back soon, rewarding the balloon with the honey, further leaving Pooh starving. Winnie, hungry for honey, continues searching all over for it, and pops over to Owl's place asking for a serving. But he discovers Eeyore's tail, and overcomes his hunger to get the tail back to Eeyore. Everyone celebrates Eeyore's tail now back on, with everyone giving Winnie the Turd a giant pot of honey, as the film ends with Pooh and Christopher Robin walking into the distance. and an after-credit sequence of the real Baxton falling into the pit. This was a pretty cozy film. The animation was delightful, nice songs, the story was solid and flows between plot points pretty seamlessly, the fourth wall breaks were very creative, and it retains everything so appealing about the silly old bear. Even the credits are charming. Although some scenes can drag on for a bit, Christopher Robin's eyes threw me off for some reason, and that the film does not hold a candle to many adventures. But in all seriousness, in what universe would this film commercially do well in? Especially when you take into account how dry Disney milked this cow a decade prior. You couldn't escape it.
Leave me alone!
Around this time, the studio did express interest in releasing 2D films every 2 years, with this film showing us how well that turned out. And with how the film doesn't significantly differentiate from those films and shows, I'm not surprised this didn't do so well at the box office. It's not listed as part of the canon here in the UK, which I don't blame them for, and as the studio's last 2D film, it felt like a pretty underwhelming way to go out with, even more so when compared to The Princess and the Frog. So despite the circumstances it released in being theatrical 2D animation's final nail in the coffin, Winnie the Pooh is a pretty worthy spiritual successor all things considered. But screw this baby movie, our next one has Kano in it! Wreck-It Ralph is now up, and it starts in 1982 at an arcade with a game named Fix-It Felix Jr., which has the titular character repair windows on a building destroyed by the villain Wreck-It Ralph. I had to say, they nailed the aesthetics of this game. It honestly wouldn't look too out of place with other classic arcade games around that time. They really did their research here. 30 years pass, with the arcade growing, and just at closing time, everyone in the games now rest. Ralph heads to a meeting with various video game villains like Zangief, Dr. Eggman, Blinky, and Bowser.
Sing Peaches.
There, Ralph confesses that he's tired of being the bad guy for 30 years, given where he lives in the game, and residents throwing him out the building countless times, now wanting to do something good. As he leaves giving Hubert a cherry from Pac-Man, we get acquainted with a central station with all the games, which is actually where all the cabinets are plugged outside. Watching all of these video game characters and references throughout here was a blast as a fan of all of these games. I already got a kick out of these as a kid when it came out, but after knowing what the hell Sky Skipper is, I have far more appreciation for these. We also see a warning for Speedy McSpeedy here, explaining that if you go into another video game going turbo and die in it, you won't regenerate. Ralph heads back to his game to see everyone in the penthouse celebrate Fix-It Felix Jr.'s 30th anniversary, and see such guests as Pac-Man and Sonic. Ralph makes it up and wrecks the party, getting into a fight with the residents about Ralph being the bad guy, and him wanting to be a part of the crew. He's told to get a gold medal to be a hero, and at Tappers, he comes across a soldier from the game Hero's Duty. He steals his suit and heads to Hero's Duty, with Hubert witnessing Ralph going turbo. The arcade opens as Ralph is now prepared for the game, led by a stern sergeant named Calhoun. Someone then plays the game, with Ralph being overwhelmed by the amount of bugs and action in the game, killing the first-person immersion for the player. Even if this was intentional, I'd still rather play this than RTO and Armfall Invasion any day of the week. The girl then heads to Fix-It Felix Jr., only to discover that Ralph isn't there, leading the owner to put the game out of order, making everyone fear that the game will be unplugged. Hubert then pops over, telling Felix that Ralph has gone turbo. After a stern talking to by Calhoun, Ralph climbs up a beacon to get the medal, inadvertently hatching a cybug and wandering into an escape pod, taking Ralph into Sugar Rush. There, he meets a young girl named Vanellope von Schweetz, who steals his medal and uses it to enter the race, with Ralph too late to stop her and is caught by the authorities. He's taken to King Candy, who tells Ralph to go back to his game. Ralph then stumbles across Vanellope being made fun of by her competing racers because she is glitchy, and destroy her cart. Ralph scares them off and is furious at Vanellope for stealing his medal, but agrees to give it back when she becomes a playable character. Meanwhile, Felix heads to Hero's Duty to find Ralph and now falls for Calhoun, with the two heading to Sugar Rush to find both Ralph and the cybug he bought, which is now underground. We also learn about Calhoun's backstory of her fiancé getting eaten by the game's cybug at their wedding. They get more acquainted with each other as Felix tells her the tragedy of Turbo Man, the main protagonist of a racing game, who invades a more popular game, causing it to break with both cabinets taken out. Hence where the term going turbo came from. Ralph and Vanellope then build a car to race in, but King Candy chases them, with the two hiding in an unfinished cola volcano course. Ralph builds a track, helping Vanellope get accustomed with driving the car. King Candy then dives deep into the game's code, retrieving Ralph's medal, whilst we see Vanellope far away from the code. After Felix confesses his love to Calhoun, she kicks him out due to her trauma, and Felix at the castle doors gets sent to the dungeon when asking Sarah Bill where Ralph is. Just as Vanellope is ready to race, King Candy gives Ralph his medal and warns him that if Vanellope becomes playable, everyone will think the game is broken, leading it to be unplugged, and since she's a glitch, she unfortunately can't get out. Vanellope comes back with the medal she made for him, but she discovers the other medal as Ralph destroys her car as King Candy advised. This scene may have gotten to me. As Ralph heads back to his game, Arrested there tells him that everyone jumps ship, calmly scolding him for going turbo. When mad at himself, he soon discovers Vanellope on the sides of Sugar Rush's cabinet. He heads back and learns from Sarah Bill that King Candy took Vanellope onto the game's code and locked up all the characters' memories. Ralph heads to the dungeon to bust up Felix, quickly talking out their differences. And then Vanellope, with Felix fixing the car, now heading to the race. Calhoun soon discovers the sidebug coming across multiple legs. Vanellope excels the race and nears first place, and when approaching King Candy, everyone discovers that he is actually Turbo Man. As if things weren't bad enough, the sidebugs now invade the game, with Turbo Man soon becoming one of them. Ralph then heads to the Cola Volcano to create a beacon with the Mentos to wipe them out, with Turbo Man stopping him, wanting everyone including Vanellope done for. But Ralph falls down for one last punch, sacrificing himself, uttering the bad guy's mantra from earlier. Vanellope saves him in the nick of time, successfully creating a beacon, wiping out both the sidebugs and Turbo Man. Vanellope finally reaches the finish line as everything returns to normal, with her now back in the code. She reveals to actually be a princess, but she stays as who she is. Felix and Calhoun now hook up as everyone returns to their games. Vanellope is now a fan-favorite character in their game, Felix and Calhoun get married, and in Fix-It Felix Jr., Q*bert, among other characters, take part in the game, making it more popular in the arcade than ever. Ralph and the characters now have better places to live, with Ralph still being the bad guy, and with seeing Vanellope across the screen every day, he couldn't be happier. This was another slam dunk. The world building is imaginatively brought to life, the characters were all fun, the video game references scattered throughout was a treat, the Konami code plays a vital role in the film's plot, and Turbo Man is quite possibly the studio's best twist villain yet. Though a Disney movie about video games may throw you off at first, it still has its signature storytelling through it all, and can even pack a good emotional punch at times.
Hey, after all the Cootie movies, I earned this.
So with that, Wreck-It Ralph is now up high on the leaderboards of the studio's best. Now for Frozen, which ended up being the studio's biggest film since The Lion King. And does it justify the popularity it gained upon release years later?
No.
It begins with men cutting out ice for some reason, whilst we see a boy named Kristoff and his pet reindeer Sven. In a castle, we see two girls named Anna and Elsa getting up early to play inside, and we see that Elsa has the power to make ice and snow. After some horsing around, Elsa accidentally hits Anna, and their parents find out and head to some rock trolls to manipulate Anna's memories, advising Elsa to control her ice powers, as we also see them taking Kristoff and Sven. There are no ice powers in Ba Sing Se. The castle closes its gates, and Anna then asks Elsa to play with her and specifically build a snowman, with Elsa saying no, afraid of her powers. One day, their parents go on a voyage away from the castle and unfortunately get killed at sea. The sisters mourn their parents, with Elsa about to be queen. 3 years later, it's now summer and the coronation's around the corner. As the gates open just for the day, Anna is now excited to finally leave the castle and head into Arendelle. She then meets a prince named Hans, as we see Elsa prepare for her coronation while she hides her powers and perseveres through her big day. At night at the ball, Anna finally talks to Elsa after all these years, alongside meeting a suspicious-looking duke from Wesselton, and starts to get close with Hans, singing their new love, with Hans proposing to Anna.
but she just met.
She then introduces Hans to Elsa, who doesn't give Anna her blessing because she just met her fiancé.
Thank God, logic!
The two bicker about Anna's decision, with Elsa suggesting to her own sister to leave. Our main protagonist, boys and girls. She then slips out her powers, with everyone witnessing, and does Elsa A. explain her powers to everyone, or B. run away like a complete wuss, leaving her entire kingdom to freeze in a new ice age? What the hell do you think? With that, Anna then follows her, with Hans babysitting Arendelle. Up in the mountains, Elsa embraces her powers and builds a castle, alienating herself from society, while singing that one song I won't name out of respect for everyone watching this video. But I will just say that I don't think Elsa earned this sequence. Throughout it, Elsa is effectively running away from her problems in C minor and is going out of her way to further avoid them. From what I was taught, that's fighting words. And it's made even worse when you realize she's supposed to be the queen of her own kingdom. She has no excuse for this behavior, on top of the widespread popularity her song got around the world. Which, by the way, would more appropriately fit the aftermath of a messy breakup than leaving your kingdom to die. It's like if the upcoming Mario movie sequel would get a musical number about Yoshi evading taxes. I get she didn't have the greatest time dealing with her troubles, but this is not how you do it. Talk to your loved ones, they genuinely care about you. And riddle me this, if the cold never bothered you, then why did you spend most of your life locked in your room afraid of your own powers? I don't think the script was proofread. Anna treks in the snowy forest, and after gearing up, she then meets Kristoff and Sven in a stable. She gets a ride with him whilst getting to know each other and bumping into wolves. They then meet a snowman named Olaf, created by Elsa earlier. Anna explains to him that they need to bring back the summer, with Olaf excited about the idea of summer and singing all the possibilities he can enjoy. How do we tell him? Meanwhile in Arendelle, Anna's horse comes back, with Hans now leading his men to head up to Elsa. With that, Anna, Olaf, Kristoff, and Sven finally reach the ice castle, with Anna going in alone. Elsa briefly tours her sister around the castle, with Anna asking Elsa to remove the snow and come back. She doesn't know how, and accidentally shoots Anna through the heart, and her ice powers are to blame. She really does give love a bad name. Elsa then builds an abominable snowman bodyguard to make everyone screw off. Anna's hair becomes white, as everyone now takes her to some rock trolls Kristoff knows. Hans and his men then reach the castle to take in Elsa, with her refusing to leave and fighting back.
Elsa, I may be bummed out about my intergalactic curfew not being able to time travel, and even I go to CEX every here and there.
Now compare this to The Lion King, namely when Nala, Rafiki, and Mufasa's spirit all told Simba to go back to Pride Rock. While yes, they all did help steer him in the right direction, it was ultimately Simba's decision to go back and face Scar. He knew he had to face his past eventually, and is made that more effective when you take into account how guilty he felt for thinking that he caused the stampede that killed his father. Here, that's not exactly the case. But I don't want to go to school today! Elsa is then hit unconscious and taken back to Arendelle, now locked up in a dungeon. Kristoff now takes Anna to the rock trolls, who try and hook them up. And I thought I was bad shipping KK and Isabel. The elder troll comes in and reveals that he doesn't have the power to break the curse in her heart, and that an act of true love is the only way to do it.
Oh, that real f***ing original.
They finally make it back to Arendelle, with Kristoff bringing Anna to the castle. She's now alone with Hans, and as they prepare to kiss, his true colors are shown, and aspires to rule the kingdom. He leaves Anna to freeze, and lies to everyone that she died, all thanks to Elsa, and that he plans to execute her. Hans is a twist villain sucks. You can make the argument he's great for the surprise factor, but the thing is, this revelation made just as much sense out of context as it did in context. There's no build-up, and it's revealed so late into the film that it doesn't allow Hans' evil motivations to flourish. And what makes it that more infuriating was that this twist could have worked, effectively teaching kids that you shouldn't immediately trust people you just met, let alone marry them. Those poor fools. You know that one scene of him in the frozen town earlier? Would it have killed into it in one line of Hans saying, "Now that I got everyone's trust, my plans of taking this kingdom are coming into fruition"? It's literally that easy, and you still get the shock value with Anna finding out this way. With how random this twist came from, it leaves you thinking, what's next? Olaf's a spy, Kristoff shot Bambi's mother, and that reindeer caused the third impact. You did so well with Turbo Man in your last movie. What happened here? Elsa then busts out to the dungeon, and Olaf comes in to comfort Anna, where she finds out that she loves Kristoff. We conveniently cut back to him and Sven, who decide to head back. Elsa creates a blizzard as Anna and Kristoff try and come to each other, but when Hans prepares to finish off Elsa, Anna stops him as she becomes frozen solid, saving her. Everyone is sad, particularly Elsa. At least she make a pretty cool statue. But it's kids movie law to finish with a happy ending as Elsa's sisterly love thaws out Anna. Everyone suddenly warps to a ship as Elsa brings back the summer. She gives Olaf immortality as Hans and the Duke of Weselton are arrested. Anna and Kristoff hook up, and Elsa uses her ice powers for fun as everyone lives happily in the Kingdom of Arendelle, and the bodyguard snowman is now a princess. When looking back with a critical eye, I don't think this film lived up to its hype and ended up being pretty overrated.
I'm a 23-year-old Dragon Ball fan, and I said, what?
Now, to be fair, there is plenty to like about this film. Anna, Kristoff, and Olaf were all fun and enjoyable characters that made sticking throughout the film that more worthwhile. It has a really strong song lineup, albeit nowhere near the highs of the Renaissance, the classic films, or even the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, just saying. We still got some good ones here, and the animation is fantastic. But the story structure's a bit of a mess. Elsa's character arc of gradually opening up to others, while solid on paper, didn't have the greatest execution, and Hans is quite possibly the worst twist villain I've ever seen. As much as the old man from Squid Game killed the emotional value and rewatchability of the show, at the very least he explains his motivations, regardless of if they contradicted with the game's emphasis on equality. It's a shame, as while the film has some strong elements, its story flaws unfortunately hold it from greatness, and if anything, it drives home how bleak 2013 was for theatrical animation, when that was the most popular of the bunch. Like, who in their right mind wanted to see Escape from Planet Earth? So despite being a mere shell of the cultural phenomenon it ended up being retrospectively, Frozen is still pretty decent time spent. Big Hero 6 is next, based off the Marvel Comics by Man of Action of Ben 10 fame. It starts in the dingy alley of San Francisco, where a young boy named Hiro takes part in an underground robot fight arena. He succeeds, and his older brother Tadashi picks him up, and everyone gets arrested. Hiro and Tadashi's aunt bails them out as Tadashi takes Hiro to his university. We get acquainted with Tadashi's friends, Fred, Gogo, Wasabi, and Honey Pop. Hiro then gets introduced to Tadashi's invention Baymax, a personal healthcare robot, as well as Professor Callahan. Hiro now wants to go there, and has to come up with an invention for an upcoming campus expo. Hiro at first is stumped for ideas, but after looking at his robot, comes up with one and produces it with help from Tadashi and his friends. The expo approaches as Hiro impresses everybody with his mind-controlled microbot. Hiro is now accepted to the university by Callahan, whilst Alistair Cray is intrigued by them and asks it there for sale, with Hiro hesitating. As he processes everything outside, a fire breaks in the building, with Tadashi heading inside to find Callahan. But it explodes in front of Hiro. Everyone warns Tadashi and Callahan as Hiro is particularly down in the dumps, not attending lessons. Time passes as Hiro stubs his toe, activating Baymax. When trying to deactivate him, Hiro stumbles across a microbot pointing towards a certain direction, making him curious after he thought they were all destroyed in the fire. They head off following its direction, stumbling across a warehouse, discovering a machine reproducing the microbots, and coming across a masked man controlling them. Hiro and Baymax narrowly escape and try reporting it to the police. Baymax runs low on battery and acts drunk in a pretty charming sequence. I think you can tell the animators had fun here. Hiro then sets up Baymax with karate moves and creates a new suit for him alongside a chip he puts next to Tadashi's original, as Baymax sends a message to Tadashi's old friends. He and Baymax then set out to find the masked man as a car mysteriously follows them. The masked man gathers some equipment and attacks them as the car catches up, revealing Tadashi's friends Baymax called up. We get a pretty exciting chase sequence with everyone running from the masked man. Afterwards, Fred takes everyone to his mansion, where Hiro gets the idea to take on the masked man with all of his friends' help, becoming superheroes. using each of their unique abilities, preparing to take him on. Hero and Baymax in their new suits fly across San Francisco, and up high in the sky, Baymax senses the masked man on a faraway island. With that, the film turns into Scooby-Doo as everyone heads to the island to investigate. They discovered the remnants of an experiment, and watch a video that it was a failed portal experiment by Cray, where the subject Abigail went in and got trapped in the nth dimension. The masked man catches up, and after some fighting, Hero discovers that the masked man is actually Professor Callahan, who used and stole Hero's microbots to survive the fire he caused, even stating that Tadashi's selfless actions of going in the building to save him was his mistake. Hero is too distraught to hear his motivations as he takes out the healthcare chip in Baymax, leading him to try and kill Callahan in a similar way as to how the internet will react to me, ranking this film lower than Brother Bear. The rest of the team just narrowly put the healthcare chip back inside, with Callahan getting away. Hero is angry about everything as he and Baymax leave, and at home, Hero can't get out Baymax's healthcare chip. But after showing footage of Tadashi building Baymax, Hero cheers up, and the rest of the team shows him footage that the pilot in the failed experiment was Callahan's daughter, and that he wanted revenge against Cray for everything going haywire. The next day, Cray opens up a new campus on the university, with Callahan creating a portal, sucking up the campus, getting his revenge.
Oh, where? Your daughter is missing and you're dead in another dimension. I get what you're feeling, Callahan. Bones left my Animal Crossing village, and yet you don't see me destroying Harvard over it.
Now I can confidently say that Callahan as a twist villain is a step up from Hans, as we at least get a good explanation of his motivations and see ample time of him being a villain. But his evil plans leave a lot to be desired, not helped by how obsessed this film was into making us think that Cray likes to draw puppies and kittens in his spare time earlier. Callahan did not need to burn down the university building to get Hero's microbots. You could have just asked him if he could borrow some and he most likely would have said, sure, why not, since he appeared cool with you. But you instead make things more complicated by burning down the building to get them and use them in your already pathetically pitiful revenge scheme for your missing daughter, making it harder for her to get out because of all the crap sucked in the portal. And as a result of all of this, your best student Tadashi alongside everyone trapped in the building died for no apparent reason, and you don't even show a single speck of remorse over that?! But Hero and everyone come in and take him on in a climactic battle. Consider Callahan very lucky they didn't discover Abigail was his missing daughter prior to his reveal, otherwise this film would have had a completely different outcome. My daughter is missing, the building exploded, I took your microbots? That was his mistake!
You know, everyone has problems. It doesn't mean you have to be a little crybaby about it.
Come on, guys, let's go. This kid is totally not cool.
Yeah, that's the most uncool kid I've ever met.
Little crybaby. The heroes take him on, struggle for a bit, and ultimately defeat him as Callahan runs out of microbots. The portal is still active, and Baymax senses Abigail. Hero and Baymax head inside to find her, they do so, and head back, but Baymax gets hit by debris. With that, Baymax selflessly sacrifices himself as he sends Hero and Abigail out of the dimension as he now drifts within it. Whee! Callahan is arrested, but is glad to see his daughter safe and sound. Hero now hangs out with his friends and heads to his part of the university. When getting out a fist from Baymax, he discovers Tadashi's healthcare chip and inserts it in the new version of Baymax. We get a final shot of the heroes in the city and an after credit scene of Fred meeting his dad, voiced by none other than Stan Lee. A good superhero origin story. I love the aesthetics to San Francisco, which expertly blends the two cities in a fleshed out and lived in environment. The emotional weight has a good punch to it all. Hero and his friends all have cool abilities leading to some exciting action sequences, and Baymax is such a lovable and enjoyable character. He alone makes this film worth the price of admission. But I do wish said characters fought a better villain and did more to stand out a bit. But yeah, Big Hero 6 was quite enjoyable. Can we all agree that the Lego Movie should have won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars that year instead of this? No wonder they're such a laughingstock. Zootopia now, whereas it's known here in the UK as Zootropolis. First time, huh? We start with a school play showcasing the concepts of predator and prey, led by a rabbit named Judy Hopps. where she brings up the city Zootropolis and has aspirations of being the city's first bunny cop. This throws off her parents as Judy helps out with some sheep giving back their tickets from a bully fox. 15 years later, Judy is now at the Zootropolis Police Academy, and while at first she fumbles, she eventually succeeds, becoming the city's first bunny cop, impressing the J.K. Simmons lion mare and his sheep assistant Merryweather. Judy then says farewell to her family as she now heads for Zootropolis and sets up her new home. She heads to the police station, and there's now a case where 14 people are missing, with Judy instructed to put out parking tickets. She then stumbles across a fox named Nick Wilde, who wants to give his son a giant popsicle. Nick and Judy get acquainted with each other, and she treats him to it. But she discovers Nick and his son, who is actually his business partner, melting the popsicle, freezing them into smaller holes, and then selling them as their own, making Judy feel blackmailed. She tries telling him off, but Nick more or less tells her that she'll never be a great cop. This gets to her, but opportunity to prove otherwise strikes as she chases down a weasel stealing from a flower shop. She stops him and also saves a shrew in the process. As a result of leaving her parking meter duty, Chief Bogo fires Judy, yet the wife of one of the missing people, Emma Totterton, requests to see him. Judy promises her she'll find him, with Merryweather notifying the J.K. Simmons mare, as Bogo gives her 2 days to do it, or else she's fired. Judy tracks down Nick, asking for his help when seeing Emmett hold one of his popsicles. He hesitates, but Judy threatens to arrest him, so he helps her. They go the direction Emmett went to, arriving at a nudist camp.
Good God, cover up! This is a kid's movie!
There, they learn that Emmett went into a limo alongside its number. Nick and Judy then go to the DMV, ran by Slops, to find the limo's location. That is honestly hilarious. It's now nighttime, and they head to a limo parking lot and find more leads in one of them. But some mob polar bears Nick has history with come inside and drive the two towards the Godfather shrew. Coincidentally, it's his daughter's wedding day, the same shrew Judy saved earlier. Nick and Judy then get told by the Godfather to go towards the rainforest side of the city to talk to a panther limo driver. He's traumatized from driving Emmett, who suddenly went savage due to something named night howlers. He then becomes savage himself and chases the two down. They catch him, and the police catch up, only for the panther to escape. As Chief Bogo prepares to fire Judy, Nick defends her, and Bogo gives Judy more time to crack the case. When alone, Nick tells Judy about how he wanted to be a Boy Scout, and when going, everyone there puts a muzzle on him, with him being a fox and everyone being prey, leaving him scarred. Judy and Nick then head to Merryweather to watch camera footage of the road to see where Emmett was taken to, figuring out it's far away from the city. With that, they head to a faraway laboratory guarded by wolves. They sneak in to discover the 14 missing people, who are all predators reverting back to their natural instincts, with Nick and Judy assuming the wolves did experiments on them. They soon see the mayor, believing that he's behind all of this. He runs off when Judy's phone rings as they head to the police station to tell everyone. The place gets raided and the mayor is arrested, with Merryweather now taking his place. Judy invites Nick to join the force before she makes a statement regarding the crackdown, with her comments leaving Nick feeling betrayed and sparking tension among the predators of prey across Zootropolis. When given a chance to be the face of the city, Judy instead quits the police among the outcry, heading back home. Her old bully pops over giving her family his pies, where Judy realizes that the night howlers weren't the wolves, but rather flowers, leading her to head back to Zootropolis. She apologizes to Nick for what she said at the station, and they go towards Duke Weaselton to find clues. Selling bootleg Disney DVDs reminded me that Fun and Fancy Free is the closest we'll ever get to the studio making a Jack and the Beanstalk film. Oh, Gigantic, you were too good for this world! Duke refuses to talk, but the mob give him a change of heart, pointing Nick and Judy to a lab in an abandoned train. There, they discovered that the night howlers are being used to make a serum causing the predators to revert to their natural instincts.
Seeing a Breaking Bad reference in a Disney movie was not on my bingo card.
The scientist sheep come in, and Nick and Judy power the train to bring the evidence. One chase scene later, the train explodes, but they at least have some of the serum. They run through the museum, but it's revealed that Merryweather was behind all of this, making the predators go wild just so the prey can have a better chance in life. Now I will just say, this twist does work for both the story and Merryweather's motivations after being pushed around by the J.K. Simmons mayor all this time. Which is something I can't say about Han Solo over here, nor Mr. That was his mistake! But the thing is, we saw so little of Merryweather throughout the film that it just feels like this twist came out of nowhere. If we saw a bit more of her, then yeah, sure. Like Disney, you did so well with your twist bones like Turbo Man, and even all the way back in the 2000s with Rourke and Captain Long John Silver. Again, what happened here? She chases them down and makes Nick go wild attacking Judy. But they outsmart her with the old switcheroo by loading the gun with blueberries instead of the serum. Merryweather is arrested as Judy now officially becomes a cop, with Nick now joining the force. The Predators, including Emmett, are now safe and sound, Nick and Judy work together as cops, and deers can marry cats. We close off with a dance party of a concert with a gazelle singer voiced by Shakira. I thought the studio was better than this, and the song itself isn't anything too remarkable, so yeah, screw this sequence. Another really good one! The mystery throughout was intriguing, Judy and Nick's relationship was naturally developed, and refreshing to not see them romantically get together. Some of the depictions of prejudice and stereotyping with the predators and prey can be really effective at points, and the best parts of the film has got to be Zootropolis itself. Such a vast and expertly developed city for all the animals to live in, with the incredible animation further bringing this world to life. I am definitely up for this getting a sequel, meaning that we get to see more of the city. Which is something I can't say for a lot of Disney sequels. But I will admit some of the film's messages of stereotyping within society could have been less on the nose and use more subtle scenes like this one here to really drive home set messages. And Merryweather again joining the unholy trinity on how not to make a twist villain. If you want to make a compelling and effective twist villain, do yourself a favor and watch Invincible. But other than that, Zootropolis is a compelling and lively film. Now for our last film of this era, Moana. It starts off within an island where our grandmother tells everyone the story of an island named Te Fiti, shaped after a slumbering goddess. One day, a shape-shifting demigod named Maui steals the heart, causing the island to wither, with others following, leading to a lava monster, among other creatures, to rise up. With Maui soon losing his hook, allowing him to shapeshift. As this tale scares everyone, a young girl named Moana is curious about heading outside her island, befriending the ocean. But her parents pick her up and tell her to stay on the island. She grows up, and we get a song about everyone being happy on the island. While she has aspirations of leaving the island, she later decides to stay and be a leader. I mean, I really want to go to the Nintendo Museum, but I still have yet to watch The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. One day, after a lack of fish and bad coconuts, Moana suggests to everyone to go further from their island. Her father refuses, and we learn from the grandmother that he's overprotective due to past trauma of attempting to leave the island. After a failed attempt of leaving the island herself, the grandmother then tells Moana that she's been chosen by the ocean to return to Fiti's heart, and she takes Moana to a hidden part of the island, where she discovers that her people used to be voyagers before the monsters made them stay where they are. As Moana tells her father about her discovery, the grandmother is on her deathbed and tells Moana to restore Te Fiti as her last request. With that, Moana finally leaves the island, now heading to find Maui, with help from her grandmother's spirit, whilst we see a marketable chicken tagging along. One sea storm later, she makes it to an island where she meets Maui. She tells him to join her to bring the heart back, with Maui stating he gave it for everyone, as he sings that she should be thanking him in a creative sequence with Maui's tattoos.
You brought the world into a new dark age. Yeah, thanks a lot.
During the song, Maui traps Moana in the cave as he steals her boat. Moana gets out and catches up with help from the ocean. Some coconut warriors then approach the boat to steal the heart. We get an exciting sequence with Maui and Moana fighting back, and afterwards, Maui agrees to go with her, but set off to get his hook first. They get acquainted with each other, with Moana learning how to sail her boat. One nightmare later, they reach the hook's destination. After climbing up a spiral, they head down inside with the film turning into Tears of the Kingdom. They're now in an area filled with monsters as the hook is on a giant enemy crab. I always wanted to say that. They try to retrieve it, but wake him up and—
Oh my god, it's Shape-Rollers!
That's right, lassies and gons, the poster boy is Shape-Rollers Productions, in all his shiny glory. He becomes curious with the heart Moana is carrying, leading him to sing about his vast collection in a fun and vibrant sequence. Maui retrieves his hook, as Moana tricks the crab with a decoy heart, both making it out with Schaeferless stuck on his back.
If only Maui used the dehydration gun.
On the boat, we learned that Maui's tattoos came from all of his accomplishments, and one on his back reveals that his parents didn't want him, leading him to bring joy to everyone as a result. Moana then masters sailing with help from Maui as they reach Te Fiti. Moana tries to sneak in, with Maui advising not to do it. They encounter the lava monster, where Maui severely damages his hook, fending it off. This makes Maui mad, as one more hit will break his hook, leading him to leave Moana. She begins to lose hope, but after talking to her grandmother's spirit, she gets the motivation to head back. She makes it past the lava monster, and Maui comes in out of nowhere, taking on the monster, breaking his hook in the process. Moana heads to the island, only to see it missing. Moana then faces towards the monster in a pretty cool slow motion sequence where she gives the lava monster the heart, revealing that it was actually the spring goddess at the start.
You're not you when you're hungry, Snickers.
Everything returns to normal as the goddess creates a new hook for Maui, Moana and Maui bid farewell to each other, and with that, Moana finally returns to her island as she and her people now voyage the seas once again. After a credit sequence reminiscent of the loading screens of Skyrim, we cut back to Schaeferless still in his bag, telling the audience that they'd help him up if he was named Sebastian.
You don't want to be like him, Schaeferless. His music makes the Crazy Bus theme sound like Bohemian Rhapsody.
A really great one! Moana herself is one of Disney's best protagonists, alongside Maui being one of the most enjoyable, with help from his tattoos. The world building is top notch, an amazing song lineup rivaling some of the studio's best, Schaeferless, and the animation is breathtaking, especially the water in the ocean and Maui's tattoos. I don't know how they seamlessly pulled off animating 2D drawings on a 3D model. While there could have been a scene of Maui deciding to go back to save Moana after their third act fight, Moana was a brilliant send-off to this era.
And that was the revival era. Granted, it didn't necessarily reinvent the wheel, nor was it anywhere near as great as the Renaissance or even the Gold or Silver Ages. On top of some films being more flawed than others, a string of good films is still a string of good films at the end of the day. Though it is a shame we stopped getting 2D films they became famous for around then, I'm at least glad they really nailed 3D animation during this time, as films like Frozen and Zootropolis look stunning. I could confidently say that Disney were back on their game after the 2000s. And while you could make the argument we're still in this era, I don't know. I reckon the films after Moana might warrant a separate video on their own, so stay tuned. If I had to rank all 8 films from worst to best, it would be Frozen, Winnie the Pooh, Big Hero 6, The Princess and the Frog, Zootropolis, Tangled, Moana, and Wreck-It Ralph. Have you seen any of these films, and if you did, what you think of them? Let me know down below, and with that, thanks for watching.